Welcome to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G. This podcast is all about connecting the community with the thought leaders of business and entertainment in the cannabis industry. As this industry expands and becomes more and more mainstream, we want to educate and entertain our listeners and become your choice and voice for all things cannabis. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the show. Have you visited MJ.com? MJ.com is the online destination where you can find everything you need to know about the emerging legal marijuana industry. Where else can you find the latest original content, news, and trends? Connect to a local doctor to obtain your medical marijuana card, receive exclusive brand savings, and have your favorite product delivered straight to your front door? MJ.com has it all. Go check them out. Welcome to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have a unique and awesome guest, Miss Bif Naked. That's right. Bif Naked is one of the most unique, recognizable, and beloved entertainment industry icons in Canada. She reigns rock supreme as an international multi-gold and platinum selling recording artist. She's a prolific songwriter, a dynamic producer, and an intuitive artist manager. She is a cancer survivor. We're going to get into all that. She has a new CBD line called Mona Lisa Healing, but I don't want to do all the talking. We want to let her do all the talking. Bif, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me on your show. This is cool.
Awesome. It's great to have you. So obviously we have a big U.S. base. So give everyone a background since you are a Canadian. Let everybody know about where you came from, how you got into the entertainment industry, and then we'll dive into your current ventures.
Well, I've been a recording artist for, my whole adult life. And basically growing up in Canada has given me, I guess, a lot of experience touring in Canada. I've got 10 records up here. And in the States, we did have a few releases through Atlantic Records. We've toured pretty extensively in the U.S. Kind of familiar with MTV. I had a song you guys might know called Moment of Weakness. That was a single through MTV Buzz Clips. I would say turn of the decade, like 99, 2000. We've toured with Kid Rock, Days of the New, Fuel. Just a variety of things. We were on Buffy the Vampire Slayer doing a couple episodes of that, which gave us a lot of those Buffy fans, which is a lot of fun. And up here in Canada, still doing touring. 2007, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and was yanked off a tour. I was 36 years old, yanked off a tour and did the cancer thing, treatments for 2 years, which included the whole thing, chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. And then just kind of learning about healthcare and the way it works. Up here in Canada, of course, we have what might be considered universal healthcare, but of course, critics of it. And it's very different system than you guys are dealing with in the United States. And yeah, I do public speaking and motivational speaking. I'm training to be a death doula, as well as writing a new record. We had a new single come out this year. I've written 2 books, and one that I'm currently working on is very specific to healthcare providers for cancer care. And I got married for the 3rd time, and that's loads of fun. I have 80 tattoos.
80?
When tattoos used to be cool on chicks, and we're Generation X kids. The Suicide Girls were what we considered really outrageous. And now, of course, we're all just old squares compared to the kids growing up. But I'm a real optimist. I'm on Instagram and Twitter all the time. And yeah, I'm a shameless optimist. Faith in people, and I have faith in our own bodies to bring us into healing and happiness. Wow, I guess that's in a nutshell.
No, that's great. And wow, I mean, you've been quite busy, that's for sure, over your career. That's a lot of amazing accomplishments. And I think obviously your best accomplishment is beating cancer. I'm sure you're most, proud and happy about that. Are you cancer-free right now?
Yeah, and the thing about cancer is that basically when you are, in breast cancer anyway, the girls like to say that if you are a 10-year survivor, if you survive 10 years, some places it's 5, but you're considered cured or in remission. And a lot of the volunteer work and hospice work that I do came basically, the opportunities came to me when I was in treatment myself. So I'm always going to be really kind of grateful for having experienced breast cancer, because as a volunteer and especially a peer-to-peer support, I can speak to it like as a lived experience. So I think it's cool. I'm a science nerd. I love medicine. Obviously, I'm super into plant medicines. I've been a vegan for almost 30 years. And although I never seem to marry any vegans, I'm on husband 3. He's still haven't met a vegan. But I'm happy anyway. And I think that as we all grow older as adults, these topics and these things, we're all going to experience more and more, and we're interested in talking about them, including as our own parents age. Now we're getting into being of the generation where we're starting to lose our parents, and our parents are getting sick. And of course, all our buddies from high school are starting to get sick and stuff. So, I'm really thankful to be a survivor, certainly, but glad that it brought me to healthcare.
Now, when you were going through the health issues, did you use the cannabis plant in any way to get through that, to make you feel better, or was cannabis and CBD something you jumped into later?
Well, for me, it was definitely later. I've been a straight edge since the mid-90s, and we were fiercely determined to be straight edge kids. And then, even in cancer care, as a vegan, I really had to kind of tackle my own issues with chemotherapy and stuff. And I just basically asked my parents, and then my father was still alive. I just basically said, I don't know, in Canada, it is basically, there are no cruelty-free chemotherapy treatments. You can have testing for cosmetics, for example. In America, the UK, and the US, they can go cruelty-free in that. But in Canada, it is the law that they need to do all these studies and all this research on a lot of chemotherapy drugs anyway, and cancer treatments and experimental treatments, really. You'll never get it cruelty free. But I did the chemo, and a lot of girls that I was going through chemo with were utilizing cannabis as medicine at that time. And CBD wasn't that popular yet. I mean, this is a decade ago. And so there were some girls that were using, in air quotes, tinctures or cannabis tinctures. But ultimately, it wasn't kind of the trend that it is now. I think in my life now, I do use CBD, but it wasn't during cancer treatment. But although I do recommend it for a lot of patients that I work with today.
Yeah, we hear a lot of stories about, not that it's going to cure any disease, but it can help people cope with the treatment and with the mental anxiety and struggle that people go with when they are undergoing something very serious. So, yeah, I'm sure you've heard similar stories.
Oh, I mean, you can say that for just about anything. I have a goddaughter with Lyme disease, for example. And although CBD in her little, body, it doesn't necessarily mitigate any of the symptoms per se, but it does help her navigate some of the other things like anxiety, like her insomnia that may be completely separate from her Lyme disease. So I think, like you're suggesting, it will for sure, and it has been shown to help with, anxiety, the mental unwellness that seem to accompany the stresses of going through treatment.
And you seem to have a very positive mindset about everything, even though you've gone through some ups and downs. How do you keep, where did that come from? How do you keep that positive mindset, especially in a crazy world that we're recording this in 2020, and it's the year of who knows what's next? How are you keeping that positive mindset, and how have you in the past?
I blame my parents completely, 100% and completely. I'm an adopted kid. So I was adopted in India. It's a really long story I won't get into, but my parents were from South Dakota and Minnesota. And they went over to India through the United Methodist Church, believe it or not, even though my dad wasn't a missionary or doing missionary work, but they kind of paid for him to go there and be a dentist, which is what he was. And so they adopted my sister and myself in India, brought us back. to North America and kind of raised us basically like you rotten kids,
Hmm.
you need to be grateful every day of your life. And we were, and that was just something we were raised in. And I think as an adult, meeting misadventure, which everybody does, everybody has a story. And certainly for some of us, old punk rock girls, there was just a history of just different things, a variety of things, sexual traumas, and a lot of misadventure. If you can come out of it with a sense of humor and a real sense of how it strengthens your identity rather than hinders you in life. I think that that positivity. It doesn't have to be faith based per se, but I think that faith in anything, whether it's a higher power or even just faith in yourself or faith in humanity, it really does help you get through all the crap of life, because life is not easy for anybody. Everybody has a story that they can share that is incredible, really.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm generally always happy. I like to, sometimes you have those negative thoughts run through your brain, especially, scrolling social media or looking at any media or the news. It can really put you in a negative frame of mind. And I like to just flip that I make light of everything. I make fun of everything. I'm happy to be alive. I just want to have a great day, no matter what the heck's going on around me in the world or to me, and just make the best of it. And that has really helped me stay happy through some tough times, is just having the ability to make light and make fun of even some serious things, because it's just part of life that everyone has to go through these things at some point. So why fall into a misery scenario? You know what I mean? So I think you kind of feel the same way a little bit.
Oh, yeah. And I think that really, for me anyway, during cancer treatment, I found that being the class clown not only helped, the other patients in the waiting room. Waiting rooms are very somber, quiet, weird places. And people are there, they're scared. Their loved ones or their family members that are accompanying them are scared. And it's just, kind of lousy. There's just a lousy feeling of being in a cancer waiting room. And that's just something that I wasn't comfortable with. I'm an elevator talker, and that's an awkwardness that I just, even as a kid, I think that a lot of us develop these senses of humor. It's a coping technique. And I think that's why some people go into comedy, really, and why other people relate to it and enjoy comedy shows is because they're being self-deprecating, and we're able to relate to that and kind of find humor in it. Humor is a great way for people to connect, and it's a great way for us as human beings to cope. And I think that's why a lot of us who self-identify as optimists, we do make fun of ourselves and our experiences, because it does minimize the pain or the awkwardness. I think it's a good coping technique. It's a great strategy, really.
Yeah, I agree completely. All right. So now I have to ask you, the name Bif Naked. Where did you come up with that? What does it mean to you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Biff is a nickname I've had since the 8th grade, when a classmate of mine had a cousin come visit him from, I think it was the UK or something. And my name is Beth, which is its own weird story, because my birth mom, my adoptive birth mom, named me Elizabeth, unbeknownst to my parents who adopted me, and then named me Beth. Very weird and spooky.
That
Meant
is.
to be, obviously. But his little buddy, his cousin, mispronounced my name and called me Beth. And so, in order to save face, everyone kind of said, "Oh, her name is Biff." And I liked it because it sounded kind of tomboyish, and it made me feel a little bit tougher and a little bit invincible. So it kind of stuck as a nickname. And then when I was in my first band, which was called Gorilla Gorilla, punk rock band, we played with a number of other punk bands back in the early 90s, and toured quite a bit as that band. A lot of these other bands we played with, like DOA, for example, Canadian punk rock legends. They had a singer named Joey Shithead was his name. You guys might remember, Mark Arm, or this other guy, Tri Pig from SNFU. No Effects had Fat Mike. I mean, all these guys, singers had these cool names. really. And so for me, it was Bif Naked sounded provocative. And again, this was, in the era when the Suicide Girls were just kind of in their infancy in a way. And, it stuck. It just simply stuck. And it's been my name ever since. There's only one record company where the president was very disapproved 100% of my name, an American, by the way, which was 2550. And then I have one record called Ibificus, where on the Canadian cover it just says Biff. It doesn't say Bif Naked because it's so disapproved.
Wow.
It's very funny. Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Interesting. Definitely interesting. So tell everybody, how did you transition into becoming involved with the CBD company? I believe, did you found Mona Lisa Healing, or did you partner with them? How did that come about?
Well, my friends had started Mona Lisa Healing, and again, it was as a response to some of the difficulties they were having. They had a 82-year-old aunt who had a lot of different psychological problems that kind of, come along with a geriatric brain. And also one of the founders, my manager, had sciatica, really simple sciatica, and started taking CBD because it was a last resort. He dealt with his sciatica for 2 years, and the doctor was saying, you're going to have a surgery, that nothing else can help you. And the CBD helped him beyond anything else that ever did. And, today he is an absolute, cyclist, runner. Everything's really doing well for him. Every girl I knew that had postpartum that was taking CBD was recovering more quickly and feeling better. My goddaughter with Lyme disease, same thing. And so the more and more I met people, and this is like, I would say 3 years ago, 2 years ago, where it just really started in Canada anyway, it really started exploding. And our laws are different than in the US, of course. And I guess for you guys, it's probably state by state. But, as it became more available and people started to utilize cannabis out in the open, CBD became more popular. And it was, I finally investigated it for myself. And I discovered that for me, as someone who just did yoga for 35 years, it changed my knees. Like things I didn't even know were going on were changed. And I just couldn't help but want to get involved, because up here it is misery in many ways for patients to acquire products that are cannabis based, that are, unless it's the government, then it's a long story. But CBD up here falls under the Cannabis Act, so it's been a tricky road. And it's really interesting because it's turned me into an advocate. And I'm very fiercely proud of anybody who works on behalf of patients to get them access and to have them gain access to plant medicines and plant-based medicines.
That's great. What type of products do you have at Mona Lisa Healing, and where can our listeners find out more about it?
So Mona Lisa Healing is, for me as a vegan and as someone who is fiercely desperate to live a cruelty-free life and to try and have cruelty-free products. We were just partnering with PETA in America. Very proud of that. So that's an outreach program. You can find out more on MonaLisaHealing.com. We're finally manufacturing in the USA, and we're coming with USDA organic full spectrum. So for us, that's new. In Canada, we were started out with just isolate. And of course, everyone knows that it's very popular to get MCT coconut oil now is very popular, but it's also very pure. And so it's safe for pets and stuff like that was important to me. There's a million companies, and I think every day there's probably a new company popping up. And that's also why basically we just had to create our own, because we just didn't know what we were getting. And so it's important to us, and I'm proud of the manufacturing and the certifications that they so, I guess, are so committed to. I'm very proud of the company, and I'm very excited to be, in the USA.
That's great. That's great. Well, best of luck with that. Now, where can people also find out more about Bif Naked and your music and stuff like that?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, we released a new single this year called Jim. You can go on YouTube and look that up. But ultimately, bifnaked.com is the website. But I'm most frequently found on Twitter at Bif Naked, and same with Instagram. I think it has to be called Bif Naked Official because, of course, by the time I signed up, Bif Naked was taken, which is very common. But it's fun, and like you said, life, despite all of the challenges that we all have with life, it's okay to still have a pure heart and to try and be happy and promote happiness and have faith in yourself and other people, and have faith in your country because it's going to survive. And right now, yeah, you guys are going through a revolution, and what it's doing is it is setting off a revolution everywhere, and it's amazing. Actually, it's an amazing time in the world, and all of the positive, amazing changes are happening right now in real time. We're witnessing history, and it's going to lead to a place that is more loving and more inclusive, and with more equality. And it's actually an amazing, amazing time.
Well, thank you, Bif Naked. Thank you so much for taking the time today. We appreciate sharing your experience, sharing your thoughts, and best of luck with Mona Lisa Healing.com. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. And everyone, we will see you next time on the Pot.Live podcast. If you are into the recreational side of the cannabis industry, yes, stoners, I'm talking to you, then thepot.com is the online and mobile destination for you. That's right, THEPOT.com, thepot.com. Where else can you find the exclusive Pot Mate of the Month? Take a pot quiz and win prizes. Scroll through hilarious memes and jokes and check out the latest podcasts, news, and trends, all while having your own profile and voice in the pot.com forum. Visit thepot.com today and get lit.